Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston. I am Mark Sheppard, the mystery board host this morning, for those of you who are looking at the great blank on your order of service, and a member of our governing board. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you have chosen to be with us this morning. No matter how old or how young you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you identify and whomever you love, know that you are welcome here. Our lay-led service this morning is being conducted by Jenny Rekas. Jenny has lived in Reston since 2013 and has two boys, 7 and 11. She's been a member of the church since 2014 and has supported UUCR in the areas of religious education, hospitality, the Angel Tree, and some social justice activities. Her day job is as a program manager for the MITRE Corporation serving our government. Thank you for leading today's service, Jenny. I'd also like to note that UCR member Meagan Pitluck-Schmitt is serving as our accompanist today. Thank you, Meagan. And we're also pleased to welcome two guest musicians today. Bonnie Tsung and Kipp will be playing the ukulele. Thank you for coming and sharing your music with us this morning. I've got several announcements this morning, including some props, so bear with me. First, today, children in kindergarten and older will be doing stream testing behind our building. If you have questions about that, or for some reason you don't want your child to participate, please leave with your child during recessional so you can talk with Linda or escort them to childcare. If you prefer that your child stay with you, the children are always welcome in the worship service. Second, we are updating the church directory this summer so that we will have a current version for our new settled minister, Reverend Aileen, on August 1st. We encourage you to have a new photo taken, especially if your most recent directory photo was taken some time ago. I know I'm about twice the man that I was the last time I had my photo made for the directory. Please see Kathy before or after church if you would like to have your photo taken. Yep, Kathy's in the back there. Yep, thank you. Third, we are excited to share that orders are now open for UUCR t-shirts. There are flyers on this subject with a little QR code. They're about $25 and can be ordered through Friday, July 21st. Shirts will be delivered to the church here in early August. Please pick up one of the flyers to see what the shirts look like and to find out how to order. Fourth, Reston Cups invites you to a Lugnasa Community Feast and Revel, which will be held here at church on Saturday, July 29th. Doors will open at 5:30. There are flyers in both lobbies and on the bulletin board in the west foyer. With more information, please take one and find out more about this event. Fifth, last, but very much not least, a reminder that Reverend Scott's last service with us at UUCR is next Sunday, July 16th. We hope everyone will join us for his Aloha service. And the day before that final service, on Saturday, July 15th at 4, please help us bid a fond farewell to him. This farewell gathering will be held in the sanctuary and hosted by the board. Please pick up this flyer from the foyer. It's the flyer with a picture of a bike on it. Can't imagine why. You can RSVP with the link or by scanning the QR code. We hope everyone will join us for this important occasion. Okay, that's a lot. Now that the business is done, let us center ourselves for worship. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me as we enter our time of worship together by listening to this morning's prelude.
Thank you, that was great. Morning, I'm Jenny Rekas, and I'm happy to be the lay leader today. This is my first time doing it. I've been an observer many times now, but I get to do it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome those who are online as well. I participate both ways and really appreciate that there's an option for times when I'm not able to come physically into the church. I have just a short poem that I wanted to start the service with today, and it's a poem by Daines Smith. Let ruin end here. Let him find honey where there was once a slaughter. Let him enter the lion's cage and find a field of lilacs. Let this be the healing, and if not, let it be. Thank you.
Our opening hymn today is hymn number 100. I've got Peace Like a River. If you are at home, the words will appear in your chat box, and here in the sanctuary, the words are on the back of your order of service, or you may use a hymnal. If you're using a hymnal, we will be singing verses 1, 2, 3, 6, and 1 again. So please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul.
As I light this morning chalice, I have this fear. This flame will not last the duration of this service. That the wick and oil of the chalice canister will not sustain this flame for our temporal service. What I really fear is paralysis, the extreme fear of realizing this flame is not permanent. Fear that the flame is not permanent creates fear and anxiety. It demands an impermanent flame, which makes us unprepared for the inevitable, the lightless flame. But we shall be prepared for change and embrace the light or the darkness as it comes its way. We need to adjust and embrace life's impermanence in a healthy way, to feel, to interact, to connect with life and all the life that's living, the good and the bad, and all that it encompasses. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. As the impertinence of the flame has its way, whether painful or joyful, each carries with it a hidden opportunity to turn it into wonder for yourself and others. Live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. As our flame dims over time and the aches and tragedy of life takes a toll, we may meet our get-up in the morning with gratitude that our aches and pains make us alive. Yet death of the flame is not an error. It is not failure. It is not the end of impertinence when the flame within no longer suffers from the pains of life without fear and anxiety of the impermanent.
At UUCR, we have a tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church. If you are visiting us this morning for the first time, we hope you will accept this song as our blessing to you. I believe the words will appear on the screen here, and those of us in the sanctuary will remain seated as we sing our covenant together.
Now is the time for all ages. If you are in the sanctuary and would like to see better, we do have some open seats up front, and there is room on the floor. So I would invite all of those young at heart or young physically to come up to the front. And welcome, everyone. Come on up. You can sit right there if you like. Sit by Ace. I want to tell you guys a quick story, and then I'm going to show you something. So here's a story that I want you guys to hear. And this comes from the Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. Once there was a young warrior. Her teacher told her that she had to do battle with fear. She didn't want to do that. It seemed too aggressive. It was scary and it seemed unfriendly. But the teacher said she had to do it and gave her instructions for the battle. The day arrived. The student warrior stood on one side and fear stood on the other. The warrior was feeling very small, and fear was looking big and powerful and wrathful. They both had their weapons. The young warrior roused herself and went toward fear and said, "May I have permission to go into battle with you?" And fear said, "Thank you for showing me such respect that you ask permission." And then the young warrior said, "How can I defeat you?" Fear replied, "My weapons are that I talk fast and I get very close in your face, and then you get completely upset and you do whatever I say. If you don't do what I tell you, I have no power. You can listen to me and you can have respect for me. You can even be convinced by me. But if you don't do what I say, I have no power." In that way, the student warrior learned how to defeat fear. And so as you all think about times where you're afraid, or if you're having to face fear and you want to have some tools for facing fear, I'm going to show you 2 weapons that you can use to face fear. The first one is called the lion's breath. And I'm going to ask these guys over here to help show how it works. So first, and I want you guys to do this with me so you can practice this weapon for fear, okay? We hold our arms up like this, hands wide. Breathe deep through your nose and go like this. That's the lion's breath. You don't have to do it in a room full of people. You can go into your room or an office or in your car and do it too. The important part is breathing. Here's the second one I'm going to show you. This one's called humming bee breath. And the way we do it is we put our hands over our ears, we breathe through our nose, and we make a hum sound all the way through the exhale. And we do that a few times, and if you hold the hum all the way through the out breath, it kind of puts all the breath out of your body and you kind of relax a little bit. And sometimes just physically doing that can help you not be as afraid and help you fight your fear. So think about that, and I would suggest you practice it every now and then. With that, thanks for listening, everybody. Today, we will sing the children out after the offering. And if you're singing in the pop-up choir, please stay up front. Otherwise, you guys can go back to your seat. Thank you.
So as Jenny said, we're going to do the offertory here a little in between. The second Sunday of each month is our dedicated offering to an organization chosen by the Social Justice and Action Committee. Gonna make it awesome. All of today's offering, except for pledge payments, which hopefully are clearly marked, will go to the DC Abortion Fund. The DC Abortion Fund is one of the largest abortion funds in the United States, supporting abortion seekers from DC and across the country. With 0 eligibility requirements, connections to multiple area clinics, and a relentlessly supportive community, DCAF has never turned away, and hopefully will never turn away, a caller in need of abortion care. You can make your donation at the link in the chat box, in the link in the chat and on your order of service, entering your donation into the Charity of the Month donation box in the online form. You can also write a check to UCR with DC in the memo line and put it in an offering basket or mail it to the church. And of course, you can put cash in the offering plates as they go by. Thank you all for your generous support of this important organization.
To sing a singing meditation called Hollow Bamboo, and you are most welcome to join in with us whenever you feel so moved.
Time in our service that we share our joys and concerns so that no one ever has to hold them alone. If you are joining us remotely this morning, you may light a real or virtual candle wherever you are to mark it in what is in your heart. As members of the in-person congregation here at UUCR, we place stones in the water here in the sanctuary. If you are at home and would like to share what is in your heart today in the congregation chat room on the screen, please write to all the attendees. But please remember that what you share will be public. Those at home may then read other joys and concerns shared in the chat, and then enter it into your time of reflection and prayer as we all listen to Meagan play our meditation music. Be one in prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love that so faithfully animates our creation, we are grateful for this community that is with us in both times of joy and sorrow. Our joy here today is that Dan Brendel is recovering nicely from the consequences of his surgery. But we should pay special attention to Miles Flint and Ron Orr, who will be having surgery this month. We all wish them well and a speedy recovery. Turning to the refugees and asylum seekers, many of us are still filled with joy that Tamina and her children have been sworn in as citizens of the United States. Regarding our asylum seekers, Miguel and his daughter have returned to their home country. But Miguel, with the experiences as a cook here and with funds that he accumulated here, he may prompt him to open a restaurant in his small community in its place of origin. But there's also joy among the asylum seekers because Maria and her son were granted asylum. This will become permanent if the DHS ICE Council does not appeal her case by this Wednesday. Is there a prayer for ICE Council? I think there is. Let us pray that this case is too insignificant for ICE Council to bother to appeal it. For all those whose conditions have been shared with us today and others whose conditions are held silently in one's heart, may the joys be multiplied in community, and may all gathered here find comfort and calm.
Sometimes when the lay leaders come up, they talk about how they came to Unitarianism or UUCR, and I just want to mention real quick how I got here. I was raised Methodist, many years of that, and then was exposed to some Catholic services via my ex-husband, and went for a while on and off, and then had a lull of several years of church going. When I moved to Reston in 2013, I wanted to find a new church to try out. And I just wanted to find a place where there were nice people who did good things. It had aspects of spirituality, but I didn't want to tack on that lecture of paternalistic oversight. And UUCR fit that bill for me, so I joined in 2014, and I've been coming ever since. My children are both junior members of the church as well. So I want to tell you a quick story about how I came to the topic today. Last year, I began researching family genealogy with Ancestry.com. It's a really fun site, and they offer DNA testing as part of their product offering. So I tried it out because I was curious. And so they give you the results back, and the thing that most people want to read about is the ethnicity data that it presents you, and where your DNA and genes sort of come from globally, which is always interesting to see. But the results also include, like as an optional feature, the ability to get some insight into what they call traits that may be influenced by your DNA. These are behavioral or physical traits, such as how likely are you to remember dreams? Do you tend to take naps? Do you tend to be a picky eater? How well do you handle nutrients? Do you have a sweet sensitivity? And when I say you may have that trait, what I mean is that it's recognized, of course, that there are environmental factors can also play a part in behavioral traits. And tendency for traits doesn't mean that it's an absolute for you. For example, I like cilantro, and the traits analysis said I may not like it. So, but one trait that struck me in particular was the risk-taking trait. Jennifer, your DNA suggests you have a stronger tendency to avoid taking risks. Your genetics suggest that you're more likely to be risk-averse than 80% of the population. Wow. I know that I don't take much physical risk. I will never be someone who signs up to go on a trip to Mars or the moon or submarines down to see the Titanic. But this got me thinking about lifelong on and off encounters with uncomfortable anxiety, and that it may run in my family. My mother describes her mother and grandmother exhibiting anxiety behavior. And so it seems it's in the family due to genetics or the passing down, at least maybe, of behavior. So I have anxiety occasionally, and I know it, and in a weird way, seeing it in this sort of predictive model analysis of my risk tolerance is a little bit comforting to me, because it's kind of maybe that I'm genetically predisposed to it. So it's just, that's what I am. So, okay. And so what I want to talk about is anxiety in general, though, whether you're genetically predisposed or not. Occasional anxiety is a normal part of life. Anxiety is one of our internal warning systems that alerts us to danger or other threats and prepares our bodies to fight back or get out of a dangerous situation. So it's kept us alive as humans forever. Normal anxiety is related to a specific situation or problem. It lasts only as long as the situation or problem. It's proportional to the situation or problem, and it's a realistic response. It's normal to have that come up for certain situations. But anxiety is a problem when it becomes overwhelming or unmanageable and comes up unexpectedly. So when someone is experiencing an anxiety disorder, it may come up unexpectedly for maybe no reason. Your anxiety response may be much stronger than what you would expect for the situation. It may last for a long time, even if the situation or problem that spawned it has resolved. And it may feel impossible to control or manage. And one may even start avoiding situations or things that one thinks might trigger that anxiety situation. An estimated 31.1% of US adults experience an anxiety disorder at some time in their lives. And it's hitting our young people particularly hard. Anxiety and depression are becoming increasingly prevalent among young adults in the US, with both disorders increasing by 63% between 2005 and 2017. The expansion of multimedia, multitasking, and high levels of academic and economic stress have led to increasing rates of anxiety and depression among American young adults. So what can we do about that? From a Buddhist perspective, fear is at the root of suffering. The Buddha taught that all beings feel a deep sense of fear or anxiety. Fear is accepted as an innate aspect of the human experience. We know that we cannot control what others do, but we can control ourselves. The Buddha located the sources of suffering and anxiety in our own misperceptions and in our own misguided habits, rather than in our external environment or in other people. He proposed 4 main principles of this suffering fear concept model, if you will. Number 1, that life, from an unenlightened perspective, is full of suffering. That suffering is caused by excess cravings and other internal negativities. We dwell in the past, which we cannot change. And again, we worry about the future, which hasn't happened yet. And one can be liberated from suffering, though. And the Buddha believes that there is an 8-fold path that one can walk to end suffering. The Buddha taught how one might wake up from habitual behaviors that keep us caught in suffering, stress, and anxiety. Any person who wishes to awaken is considered a warrior. The path of self-growth and introspection, of learning practices of mind, body, and spirit that lead us to our highest selves and ultimately enlightenment or nirvana, is one of great bravery and courage. We train as warriors in overcoming suffering and liberating our hearts and minds so that we can become free, which is to say, fearless. I like this concept of a warrior in that warriors have to consistently train, learn diverse weapons to fight their enemies, and have rigor in preparing themselves for what they're trying to do. The Eightfold Path consists of good speech, good actions, good livelihood, good effort, good mindfulness, good concentration, good understanding, and good thoughts. This is a mental model we can understand. But how does that work in practicality? Well, like I said a minute ago, a warrior is someone who must regularly train and practice to grow and maintain skill. As warriors, we can train in a variety of ways to wake up and tame that anxiety. There's the usual recommendations of exercise, sleep, good nutrition, journaling, meditation, which I think either has been a recent topic at one of the services here or will be later this summer if people are interested in that. I also know that the church offers meditation sessions periodically. And certainly medication and appropriate mental health care can significantly help. These are all important tools in the warrior's arsenal. But I want to talk about two weapons in particular. One is easy, the other one's a little bit more rigorous. And so the first one is something that we actually started doing with the littles earlier, and that is deep breathing. Stress can make us be shallow breathers or upper chest breathers, where air is mostly trapped in the chest, overusing the intercostal muscles between the ribs and the shoulder muscles, and never allowing the air to fully reach down into your diaphragm. I think about this often when I'm at work. I'll be like all of a sudden realizing, oh, I'm shallow breathing right now. Breathing is one of the easiest practices to immediately try if you're feeling anxiety. And so some points on, well, what does successful breathing look like if I'm a shallow breather? Well, first, use your nose. The nostrils filter warm and humid air in a way that your mouth cannot. Use your belly. As your diaphragm contracts, the belly will expand and pull the air down into your lungs. Breathe slowly and deeply, and maybe count to 4 when you breathe in and count to 4 as you breathe out. One tenet of meditation is that if you're meditating and you're having a hard time concentrating, which is a key factor of meditation, just focus on the in and out of your breath. It is something that we are constantly doing. It is there. It is grounding if you can't find anything else to ground on. I personally sometimes think about breathing in calm, blue, peaceful air and exhaling red, disordered air. And for me, sometimes just stopping and breathing deeply, and as you're exhaling, just kind of let your muscles melt a little bit. It can help you. And so I would encourage all of you, as you're listening to me, just try it out. Just pay attention to your breathing and notice how you're breathing, and just try breathing deeper into your belly slowly and letting it out. You can also throw in mantras for good measure when you breathe. A mantra is a sound, word, or series of words repeated to aid in concentration when you're meditating. The humming bee breathing technique we did a little bit earlier is an example of that. The text of the closing hymn that we're going to be singing today actually demonstrates mantras, word phrases that you may want to keep in your pocket when you're breathing and repeating these things to yourself. Being present, the idea that we're just living in the moment, we are not worrying about the past, and we are not anxious about the future, we're just here. That is a key concept of meditation. So that's an easy tool. Just think about your breathing. The second one is a little bit more intense, and that is again involves some breathing, but it's the concept of mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR. Mindfulness is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's constant flow of thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, sounds, everything that can distract you. Just be aware of that and observe it through a gentle, nurturing lens. Breathing is something we can do to just focus on being present in the here and now. And again, not ruminating on the past or fearing the future. One can practice being present with meditation. And this meditation as a therapeutic technique was adapted originally for medical professionals to help with stress management into a specific core series program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. The rollout of MBSR for medical professionals was so successful that it has expanded to be used for treating a variety of illnesses in patients, such as depression, anxiety, chronic pain, cancer, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, skin, and immune disorders. Multiple research studies have been conducted to confirm that mindfulness can be effective. One study was done with breast cancer patients to see if pain could be reduced with MBSR. Researchers were able to measure changes in the patient's brains after a series of MBSR. The changes in brain connectivity correlated with reduced pain severity for the MBSR study group. There are images where they've captured the before and after of the brain activity for patients who participated in the MBSR program. The study results provide empirical evidence of a change in the brain following MBSR intervention associated with changes in the subjective experience of pain. This fact that the brain can change to reduce pain is kind of mind-blowing to me, but it also gives me hope that one can take action and actually make physical changes in yourself to make things better. I just love that there's evidence and proof that it can help you. The last story I want to talk about is related to the fact that we are sort of collectively in our country experiencing anxiety for a variety of reasons. There's political turmoil, economic stresses, climate concerns. There's a lot going on to make us feel that abnormal anxiety. And so I want to talk for a minute, going back in time to an example from the British author C.S. Lewis. This is not the first time that a nation has struggled with shared uncertainty and anxiety. The same was felt by Great Britain during World War II. So Marjorie Lamp Mead of Wheaton College and Reverend Dr. Joel Heck of Concordia University both describe a sermon by the British author C.S. Lewis of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe fame. I wanted to insert C.S. Lewis somehow into my sermon today because I love him. And so on October 22nd, 1939, C.S. Lewis delivered an evensong message to the students and faculty at Oxford University about learning in wartime. These were still the early days of World War II, but having served in the trenches of France during the First World War, Lewis understood only too well the horror of what these young undergraduates were facing. Indeed, the likelihood that the majority of them would not survive the war was all too probable. Lewis presented a defense of traditional humanistic learning at a time when many thought that educational pursuits were unnecessary in light of the war, or worse, irresponsible. The sermon attempted to answer the question, what is the use of beginning a task which we have so little chance of finishing? When the world is advancing to heaven or hell, when the liberties of Europe hang in the balance, Lewis wrote, how can students and faculty spend time on what seems like trivialities in comparison? Rather than stir the students to courageous action or even attempt to strengthen them as they looked towards the unknown future, Lewis instead chose to talk about the importance of living the life they were currently pursuing with integrity and dedication, as long as circumstances permitted. In this case, as members of the university, they were called at this particular moment to the pursuit of knowledge, no matter that their own future remained uncertain. As Lewis explained, I think it important to try to see the present calamity in a true perspective. The war creates no absolutely new situation. It simply aggravates the permanent human situation so that we can no longer ignore it. Human life has always been lived on the edge of a precipice. We are mistaken when we compare war with normal life. Life has never been normal. Even those periods which we think are most tranquil turn out on closer inspection to be full of crises, alarms, difficulties, and emergencies. What Lewis is saying here was not intended to be dismissive of the stark situation that all of them were facing. Rather, he was reminding them that every one of us lives each day in a world of uncertainty. Circumstances such as war or a pandemic do not create a new reality. They simply bring the actual reality home more forcefully. The truth remains that whether our outward circumstances appear to be calm or whether we are being buffeted in the midst of a storm, we are still mortals living in a fallen world, subject to numerous things apart from our control. Essentially, we can and should learn during wartime. What C.S. Lewis says about that life has never been normal is true even now. We live in very uncertain times right now, but we shouldn't abandon our plans and let it distract us. In summary, I just want to iterate, occasional anxiety is a normal human condition, but it can become too much. Many of us are collectively experiencing anxiety in our nation, and fortunately, because humans have been living with this for ages, we've identified many ways of living with it and even overcoming it. I encourage all of you to seek to become more present and be aware of when it becomes too much and then seek ways to alleviate it. Thank you.
Our closing hymn today is number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. Please rise in body or spirit and join us. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Again, thank you all for coming today. I want to end our service today with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. This day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on yesterdays. I hope today's sermon has given you all something to think about, be reminded of, or a new idea to help. Blessed be and namaste.
We now extinguish the flame of this chalice, but not the light and hope and truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry within our hearts.
We have a special treat for our postlude today. I'd like to introduce my good friends Bonnie Tsung and Chuck Kipp. And they are singers who sing with me in the Arlington Community Choir, which is a choir that I direct down in Arlington. And Bonnie and Chuck sang this song at our spring concert recently. And Jenny actually requested Three Little Birds as part of this service. And so it just seemed like a perfect fit. So I'd like to really thank Bonnie and Chuck for volunteering to come and share their fun song with us.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, first things first. All right. Thank you for having us here. And at the end, we're going to sing along. The words aren't up there, but we'll tell you what the words are. They're la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. So remember the la. Here. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Here's a little song I wrote.
In might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy.
Every life has some trouble.
But if you worry, you make them double. Don't worry, be happy. Ba, 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 ba.
Singing, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing's gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing's gonna be alright. Rise up this morning,
Smile at the rising sun. 3 little birds sitting on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true.
sing it.
This is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing's gonna be alright.
Sing,
Don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing's gonna be alright.
Here at the New Year community, Jenny will help with anxiety. Don't worry.
Be happy. If you got troubles, things are going wrong, take a deep breath and sing it along. Don't worry. Be happy. Okay, here it comes. La 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 la. You happy, Bonnie?
I'm happy.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. Should we add some hand
Back
clapping?
class, here we go.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. All right, last time. La 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 la. Now we're gonna slow way down. La la la. La 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 la.
Well, that was the interactive mashup I didn't know I needed. Bonnie and Chuck, thank you very much. That was awesome. We invite our congregants attending worship on Zoom to join us for our virtual Greet Your Neighbor coffee hour today to discuss the service theme and enjoy fellowship with other congregants. The link is in the chat box and will be on a forthcoming slide. We hope you also use the chat box as a virtual receiving line to leave a message about your appreciation for the worship service. Those here in person are invited to join us for coffee or tea and fellowship. Please be reminded of all the events that I made announcements about at the top of the service. There are lots of flyers. Please gather them as you are moved to do so. Thanks again to Jenny very much for the service today, and thank you all for coming. Go in peace.